So first I'll explain how I found myself in a position to be eligible to be out there. I got out of high school, I went into the military. Originally, when I went into the military, I wanted to be in some kind of special operations job. The recruiters turned me off to that because, quite frankly, I wasn't in the physical condition to do that. I could do the military, I just couldn't do something that was so physically intensive. I took the ASVAB test and I scored very highly. After that, the recruiters presented me with another job. It was a standard job. It just had high requirements to get into. I met those requirements. It was a high-speed job with a very high attrition rate, but I did meet the requirements, and I ended up going into it. I'm going to be kind of vague because I'm not even going to say the branch of the military I was in, so I'm going to not even use certain terminology, but I got out of high school, I went into the basic training boot camp situation, did that, and then I went on to advanced individual training like a military school. My military school lasted well over a year. It was slated for about a year, but it ended up lasting a lot longer because I was on a security hold. I couldn't continue until my security clearance went through. Another time I actually rolled a block of instruction that I had to repeat. And I did, and I got through it. It took well over a year. Then I went on to my first unit. Now keep in mind, this is all before September 11th. This is a few years at this point before September 11th. This job still exists in the military, but it's been completely restructured. The training is no longer so long. And the attrition rate is not as high. They started doing this around the time we entered Iraq because the demand for this job increased. There wasn't enough people to do it. But that's how it was at the time. So I went to my first unit. I did some time there, a couple stories there, but I rotated out. I went to my second unit. Now, I'm still a young guy. I just got a few years in the military. I'm still really green, and I'm by all means a junior person. But the way it works in this job is, at the time, the companies were very small, very, very small. My second unit, when I arrived, there was between 12 and 14 people there, all cadre, company commander, everything. Like, that was it. We were always, attached to some other element, but we were left just us. We had our own budget. We had our own shop. We reported to work each day to a shop that was pretty much off limits to everybody but us. Nobody messed with us, and we didn't partake in a lot of extracurricular military activities. Like, we didn't do a lot of PT, we didn't do any kind of guard duty or flag duty or anything. And keep in mind, this is stateside U.S. before 9/11. So, like, we're locked away in our little shop, playing video games, drinking beer, and just waiting for calls. But anyways, my second unit, I'm there. And my company commander calls me in. My company commander has orders for me to report for some kind of training operation at Dallas Air Force Base. Tells me I'm going to be leaving on a Thursday. I'm like, okay. Very little is said, very little is known. I don't know what he knew. All I know, and I didn't know this till later, but we go in two-man teams, and I was the junior man. The senior man, the team leader, asked the company commander if I could go with him. I thought that was pretty cool. Also, the presence of these orders was not strange at all because we spent so much time both training other people and getting trained. The technology and the job that I was in was turning over at a ridiculous rate. So there was always something to train, and then we would train a lot of other people as part of our tasking. So it really didn't seem like anything. And it was just TDY. It was just going to be a little bit. It was like a fun trip. And it was in Vegas. Got with my team leader. He's like, we're going to go party in Vegas for a couple days. We're going to leave a couple days early. We don't have to be there till Tuesday. We're going to leave on Thursday and we're going to drive out there. I want to stop somewhere in between first. Then we're just going to go to Vegas and have fun. While we were in Vegas, my team leader and I had a conversation about Area 51. I knew very little about it at the time. I knew it was connected to the Roswell thing, and I knew it was connected to aliens. That's all I really knew about it. My team leader, though, he knew of the area where we were in a military sense. He was telling me that the whole area is rangeland, which we spent a lot of time on ranges. So it was, going to ranges was a pretty normal thing. But there was a lot of ranges out here doing a lot of different things. And somewhere out here in this rangeland was the Area 51. And that's all pretty much he knew about it. But he was telling me about this. So we just assumed that, it was, some kind of, I don't know, sensitive type thing, which is not uncommon for people in our jobs. So anyways, we report to Nellis Air Force Base on a Tuesday. We show up a couple hours early. We have orders to report to a certain place, and we do. If you ever been on a military installation, you know how that goes. Nothing out of the ordinary. We get there where we're supposed to report to. We in process, I guess you would call it, and then we're just told to wait. We don't leave this. It's like a headquarters and alpha type place of whatever. I don't know. But we're there, and we're just sitting waiting in an office situation, and finally an airman comes, and we get into a white van. It's all over military bases, and he just says he's going to take care of us. He says we are going to be going out to some ranges, but the specifics aren't there yet. He's like, you're just going to spend a couple days. I got your phone numbers. He's got our numbers, and he's just going to take care of us. We get a place to stay right there. Shows us where everything is. We spend about an hour with him. It's really uneventful, pretty normal stuff. So we get there on a Tuesday. We spend Wednesday there. Early Wednesday evening, team leader gets a call. Says that the following day, I can't remember what time, but it was like middle of the day. It says that we're going to be flying out to a range a ways away, but we need to fly in there. Just bring your stuff, and to meet them pretty much out front of where we were staying. Next day comes. We meet him. He picks us up, and we're in a van. He drives us over to by the airfields. It's right there anyways. It's a building. We walk in, it's big glass doors, big open room, there's a hallway with some offices in it, and then the hallway opens up into another big room area, like a terminal, I guess you would call it, but not really. He says sit down. We do. There's other people in there. dozen people come and go. Like, they're calling people. People are leaving and going into these offices, and people are also, there's activity on, you can see down the hallway on the other side of it, in this big room. But our guy goes in one of these offices, and it's a few minutes, and he comes out, calls my team leader in there. My team leader's in there. I see my team leader leave. I get called in there. I go in there, very, very bluntly, very straightforward. You're going to be going to the Groom Lake installation, and proceeds to tell me it gives me about a 2-minute security brief on the sensitive nature of the installation, which is a brief I've received before. I mean, it's not all that uncommon. I had never heard of Groom Lake at that point, so that meant very little to me. I'm like, oh darn, I'm gonna go to Area 51. But and then I signed a stay. I had to. He made me present my packet. I had my military ID. This is before CAC cards. This was the old green military ID. My security clearance, which at the time carried them in little black wallet deals, and my orders. Nothing real thorough. They escorted me. They opened the door. We walked down the hallway, which is really only another 6 feet, 7 feet down the hallway, into the larger room, which opened up. There was a counter off to the side with 3 people. The airman that walked me down there then left. I was instructed to put my bag on the counter, which I did. It was opened and looked through, not that well. I had a shaving kit in there that was open and looked through, but again, not very thoroughly at all. A list was read off to me of items that I may not have. 2 items on that list that I had was a phone and a camera. At that time, we had flip phones, and I had a digital camera. So I gave them over. They were immediately placed into a plastic bag that was labeled with my name. The plastic bag they placed into a large plastic bin that had other plastic bags in it. I was given back my bag, and I was told to have a seat. I walked through the room, sat down next to my team leader. We sat there. There was other people already there, and there was still more to come. Most were in military attire. There were a few nicer dressed civilian clothes people, but the underlying factor, I do believe, is this was a government employee flight. Having time to think about it, it probably wasn't a flight that was made every day. They probably just collected people and then flew them at a certain time. I'm not sure. But anyways, we were getting on it. As far as the whole Janet Airlines thing, at the time I knew nothing about that. All I knew is that this was a civilian plane. I've been on so many airplanes. I don't remember anything about it. It had a crew and a staff of civilians, and there was nothing out of the ordinary about the plane itself.